When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence.
Welcome to NUIC All Access, joined by Jay Doyle. I'm your host, Kyle Kampmeyer. Today we feature 4 guests from the East Dubuque Warriors basketball team. Jay, introduce our guests to us today.
All right, Kyle. Today's guests are East Dubuque head coach Scott Schaber, along with senior players Ethan Schulting, Brady Dietzel, and Zander Tierney. Here's a look at what the program has done so far. Coach Schaber has a career record of 150 and 118. He's in his 4th year leading the Warriors with his record at 76 and 47, currently at 15 and 10, 7-0 and 7-0 in NUIC West action. The Warriors are searching for their 3rd consecutive conference title and looking for their 7th regional title.
All right, gentlemen, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us on this early Sunday morning.
Hey, it's great to be here, guys. I couldn't expect to be in it anywhere else. Got my cup of Joe Sunday morning. Let's take them to church.
There you go. I love it.
And I think the favorite thing for me, Coach, we didn't get the white one, but we got that black after-game jumpsuit.
I try to answer your request. Yeah, I look thinner in black, so I'm glad you asked for the black one and not the white one.
We're
But
always
hey,
wearing
before we
dark
get
also.
too far, I just wanted to make sure I know if Coach Parsons is out there listening. I do have something for you, Coach Parsons. So I just wanted to make sure that I hit you, slap you with the towel a little bit. Because he pulled me aside at that Fulton shootout and he goes, "Hey, we did a preview, and I don't know if you listened to what I said about you." And I said, "No, but my boys were listening." And I didn't get, privy to that until after the fact. He goes, "Well, listen to it." And I said, well, when I got home, I listened to it and I chuckled. So he got one. So I want to give one back, send them back the love.
All right.
So question for you. You talk about the towel. Where does the towel come from?
Great question. It has the story. So this towel that I had, I might have had it for close to 2 decades, and I might have lost just one towel early on. And so it was a regional game, Stockton, more people than what probably should have been in there. And then the floor was wet. We called a timeout. No water bottles in sight. They're under the bleachers. The student section, their knees were in my players' backs. The board was lost. When we finally found the board, it had full of drawing. Now, we would think like we can erase the board with our hands, and we couldn't find the towel. So I said, well, listen, I'm not going to carry a drawing board with me, and I'm not going to carry a bunch of water bottles with me but I could carry a towel. And then now the towel is multi-purpose. So if I sweat, I got it on my brow. If I'm upset, I can twist it. If we don't execute a play, I can slap it. And usually it's a love tap with these guys. So this day and age, contact from a coach to a player, the towel is my barrier. So I'm kind of safe. So if a ref makes a good play, I'll give them that's an appreciation tap. And if the guys do a good play, that's an appreciation tap. So there's a story behind the towel. And so some people are now laughing because I wear my glasses backwards. So I have my towel to wipe off my glasses and my glasses to find my towel. So it all works.
It all comes together.
Yeah, see, it's all one happy family.
I did see the backward glasses look, and it kind of reminds me of a baseball look, really, because you see the boys on the baseball field do that stuff all the time. I was curious where you got that from, but the towel, I don't know if you remember. You might remember
Clark.
Lee Bennett from Dakota back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s.
That name's going to escape me, and I probably should know it.
He's down at Centralia now, but he always had a towel with him too back in the day.
I think of Jerry Tarkanian when I see the towel.
Yeah, well, Troy Grove asked me the other day, he's like, "Is that why you use it, because of Tark?" And I said, "I don't suck on it. Nobody gets it wet for me." I'm like, "It's not a pacifier." I said, "I think I use it for other reasons than that."
Yeah. Well, and that's what Lee Bennett did with it too. He kind of bite on it at times during crunch moments and things like that.
Yeah, I'd have to have therapy if I didn't have my towel.
All right, Coach. Year 4 at East Dubuque. How would you describe the standard of this program compared to when you first took over?
So in 4 years when I took over, Coach Miller and his staff here and Coach Tash, that was a daunting task because of the standards they brought in and the legacy they left behind. So my job really was just don't mess up. So I'm not going to take credit for any standards and culture, but speaking of that, when you come in as the coach, you do have standards where you go. Everywhere I've been a lot of places, but everywhere you go, you got to have the standards established and talk about the non-negotiables that deal with behavioral, structural, and performance requirements, bar none. And I've heard other coaches talk about this, like coaches taking me 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years to build. It doesn't. It's day one. You start day one and you build it from there. So you don't wait for anything. Your culture is first. I'm a Bears fan, so ask Coach Ben Johnson how that went this year. And the reason that the culture just totally changed. So, and the cool thing is when you're a coach, you establish these standards and then you hold your players accountable to those standards, and then the real spice is when the players start holding each other to those standards. That's when your team grows and really takes off. They become like stakeholders in a company, so to speak. So those are the kind of things. And when we talk about certain things, you got to talk about like effort, the amount of effort it requires in the classroom, court, and community to be a varsity player. So those are some of the words that we talk about. We could talk about attitude. A bad attitude is like a flat tire. You don't go anywhere unless you change it. You talk about focus, where focus goes, energy flows. When you talk about work ethic, you can't have your $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. And then when you talk about discipline, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, when you're supposed to do it. And then Mike Tyson had the best quote that I loved is like, discipline is doing not what you're doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. And that's kind of what we preach here. And the last one I'll talk about is another word we use is loyalty. And I think loyalty sometimes is more important than love to me. And now I love these guys, but I tell them loyalty and trust is way more important because love, somebody in 5 years can tell you, I don't love you anymore. And it doesn't make sense. And that's probably because you're not the best version of yourself. But when you're loyal, you're supportive of that person if they're at the best version, and definitely when they're at their worst version. So we talk about loyalty as well. So those are key words that are in our standards that we talk here and there about and touch base as the season goes on. And I'll touch base a little bit on here's what we do in our program. So I carry 2 dice with me all the time in my bag. And if the standards aren't met, I have the players roll the dice. So literally it's like if you're going to roll the dice on us, you literally are going to roll the dice. And so the first dice, when they shake it, determines the consequence of what they did. And they don't want to shake a 6. That means the whole team's involved. All right. And
We're looking for
so it
snake
might
eyes.
be conditioning. It might be conditioning under time. It might be a mystery one that we just make up. It might be housekeeping ones, like you're the one that got to clean the bus when we're done. Or they might have to write a page on a topic that we send to them. So those are the kind of things. And then the second dice tells them how many days they have to get it done. And then what's the intensity of what they're going to have done. So that's like a checking point to make sure our standards are being met.
The one thing I would say, Coach, you came into a different setup, like you said, Coach Miller before you, the success that
Absolutely.
they had. The one thing I would say that I see that is different from Coach Miller to you, and was very cool to see the transformation, was his style of play. Love watching his teams play. They were methodical. They um, those teams just pass the ball well, work the ball, and everything like that. Your setup is, I don't know, it's like 40, back in the day for college, it was like you heard the 40 minutes of hell, right?
Right.
You guys play at a different level of just full court press, foot on the gas the whole time, and how that has transformed to watching you guys play. Different level of fun watching play as an outsider, but 2 different styles of basketball.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And listen, I wouldn't go against Coach Miller, so I know those teams very well. And I
Yep.
still have flashbacks sometimes. So you can, I think the best thing for what I would say as a coach is that we're not afraid to adapt to any style.
Yep.
Last year we had to play 84 feet from tip to buzzer. Some
Yep.
coaches didn't like that, even with our third team in. But that's what we were doing. That was our identity. And this year we had to change back, and plus with a serious injury in our program that we were kind of coming in with about maybe 6 guys, 7 guys in rotation. And with Illinois basketball, it's a little different, right? You can play 7 games in 11 days. So it's not like Iowa. When I was in Iowa, you got 2 days to prep and then you play, 2 days to prep and you play. So some of the Iowa coaches I was talking to, getting information about that system, it's a little bit different. So I appreciate what Coach Miller did, and his system was bar none. It was tough to go against, and he had some good animals in the zoo, but he was a pretty good zookeeper.
Yep.
And the other point for us, we're like I said, our success has been based on can we adapt.
Yep. Now, Ethan, we'll ask you the first one. So as a senior, what does the standard actually look like in the locker room for you guys? What is your standard every day?
I would say coming to practice ready every day. Coach Schaber has a list of stuff we got to get through. I think the most important thing is getting through that efficiently and getting through what he needs to get done. But yeah.
No, and that's one of the things that as a senior, when you've come up through the program, and we've talked about it, you know what the expectations are from your coach. And now you're four. As a senior, everything kind of handles itself as a standard for what the status quo is, and what you have to bring to the table every day. And as for Brady and Zander, is that the same for you guys?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just coming ready just really prepares us to play better and just stuff like that. Yeah, can't agree more.
He's not an early bird. Listen, we just had to take a bus the other day, and thank God our bus. He would have had to shake the dice. He got out of it because our bus, we got stuck in the parking lot 10 times because it froze.
Oh,
And
geez.
so he was late. Set his I think alarm an hour later. Yeah, he does, and we're trying to teach him AM versus PM. So he's not the early bird. So I should probably give him maybe a drink of this to just wake him up a little bit.
He's on the West Coast still, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, he's kind of a surfer looking dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got that hair flow.
He does.
So Brady, we're gonna come to you. So, here we go. Last year you guys graduated a good amount of seniors and some very good all conference players. When did you realize that this team could be special and not just good?
I from day one mostly because the brotherhood that we have on the court and outside the court is like good. We all hang out with each other and we all get along good, and we just have that connection that I feel like most teams don't have.
Yeah, and that's one of the keys. And just we've talked about it, and you talk about the good teams. It's like you may not have to be you may not be the best team, right? But if you have it in your mindset when you take the court, you can beat a lot of teams that way of just having that mentality. And that goes next to you, Zander. When you put on that East Dubuque uniform, what does that mean to you as a senior now?
To me, it really means everything because this is the place like we've all grown up, and it's really everything. All we've ever known is here. Like being that little kid watching the old Warriors teams play, and like just imagining like that's gonna be me someday is just like the best feeling in the world. And it's just something that really does mean the world to me, and I'm assuming it means the world to my brothers next to me.
Yeah, it's
Amen.
always important to have that pride, especially now as you guys are getting the leadership in place to start laying down the foundation of what your legacy will be at East Dubuque and building off of the people that came before you. And that's important because it goes back to, like Coach said, building the culture, building the program in a direction that you want to see continued success. And I always told my kids, like, when you're gone 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, I want you to come back and be proud of where you came from at the same time. Coach, how have these seniors shaped the culture and accountability of the team, in your opinion?
Yeah. Conor McGregor once said that I wouldn't eat with anybody I wouldn't starve with. I would starve with and for these guys. Absolutely. And when you talk about your seniors, you're probably talking about leadership. And I have, this is just me speaking. I have three types of leaders. I have a pace setter, a tone setter, and a pain in the ass setter. And you don't want to be the third guy. These guys are all pace setters in their own sense. And what they've done this year is become a tone setter. And when you have both unite in the same person, you have great leadership. And all three of these, because you can't just do it as a tone setter. Those become, death of the year after a while. And you can just play with pace setters. But when you have both, that's pretty special. And these guys here, I don't think I've ever called them a Daisy or a Willie. And you're going to ask me, what is that? And I'm glad you asked. Some days he works, some days he don't. And will he show up? Will he not? So these guys have shown up and they've shown out every day when we ask them to come to practice. And I think furthermore is these guys are trained in the dark. We raise these guys in the dark. And again, you're going to ask me, what's that? We train them when nobody's watching. And they put in all the work in the off season, any extra time, even at practice. I got to send them home. I've been really studying Kurt Signetti as far as keeping practice shorter and keeping the guys healthier and fresher. And so I'm trying to get guys out. So it's one of those catch-22s on that. So, and just that we're trying to find a balance with that.
Ethan, question for you. A lot of people talk about leadership, and leadership is easy when times are good, right? But how do you work to be a leader when things are not going your guys' way?
Yeah, it happens all the time, every game, like Coach Schaber says, you got to find other ways to impact the game. So whether that's just giving 100% effort, going for that loose ball, or help my guys up, just got to do whatever you can to have the higher score at the end of the game.
So Brady, what's the hardest leadership decision you've had to make so far this season?
Mostly just letting the young guys play and doing what they're good at. Have Dooley on the rebounds, have Sherm shooting hits, and just letting them play their game.
I want to know, when's the last time you've had to roll the dice?
I
Been long. I don't.
I'm
Some of them maybe never.
I've never wrote. I did once last year.
Oh, he did.
I overslept. We had a Saturday morning practice, and I overslept in, so had to roll that.
But he didn't get a 6, so he was saved. But hey, I just want to add on one thing on these guys here when you talked about these seniors, and that's really special about these guys, is that they've earned their opportunity. A lot of people didn't even know their last names, and we did in practice. And so they were playing behind like one or two guys last year. And to be honest, I'll tell you the story of these two. Like he was our sixth man, and actually he was our sixth man, and then he struggled a little bit. So we went with the defensive guy and said, "You're the sixth man." Well, then he had an illness, and then he became back to the sixth man. And when he came back, he was like a different dude. He was a savage, and he played extremely hard, and he didn't want to let it go, which made it hard for when he came back. It's like, hey, do you want to get my spot back? And I said, I don't. It's really tough. I mean, you guys are all putting forth that same amount of energy. And here's the greatest thing of all. These guys have worked together like brothers to figure that out. They weren't fighting each other. They were helping each other. And their parents, God bless them, let them struggle. In the parent meeting, we talk about letting your son struggle. We let your son struggle in practice. They have to figure things out. So these guys have really adapted to handling hard better. And like everything they want is on the other side of hard. And they've been able to handle hard better, which in life, this is what's going to give them the tools to handle problems in a marriage and a job and being a dad or whatever it may be. This is what we don't do these days. We hold their hands.
Yeah.
And these guys were allowed to just do that and go through that grind without asking for a handheld.
It goes back to our guy, Ben Johnson, good, better, best.
You darn right.
Yeah.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Sorry, Packer fans. No, I just had to say that.
Zander, next question for you. How do you hold your teammates accountable with staying positive and not losing your teammates' trust?
Basically, we just really try to be honest with each other. Like, we understand things need to be said if things aren't going correctly, and we know there's a reason behind it. We just don't say things to say them. And every now and then we may get a little hostile, like with each other, but it's the hard truth. But that's just the dogs we are. Like, we're always going to be fighting. Like, if we think something's right, we're going to be putting our opinion out there. And how close of a team we are, even though we have these opposing viewpoints at times, we still always find a way together to connect.
Coach, what did you learn about your team through the early losses to Dakota in the Scales Mountain tournament and then Pectonica and Eastland in the Eastland shootout?
So yeah, and those games you're mentioning, those are kind of early season type of games. And going into the off season and trying to find our identity to get to this season, I thought we did a phenomenal job, Coach Sweeney, with the guys in the summer, shooting and taking them through some stuff, doing our prep work. And by the end of the summer, we really had an identity, and we were really playing good. And then about 2 weeks before the season, uh, one of our main pieces, our only starter returning, has a severe injury of a dislocation fracture ankle that required surgery and maybe almost a season ending, but now he's kind of fighting his way back. He's on the court now. But that changed a lot of things we did, definitely defensively. And then offensively, we had to really fine tune some things, knowing that we're going to have different guys in different spots. So what I learned from that is that, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I had to see the change in my team going in. So we were at a time in those weeks where we were kind of a mess, maybe. But to answer that question specifically, what do we learn about Dakota? You better be men to play this game and not boys. All right. What do we learn about Pecatonica? Don't schedule 2 games in the same day against powerhouses. Eastland we played first, and Peck, and you got to have time for Coach Heisler's team to prep and prepare. And they got us at a good time where we had to fight back from a 16, was it boys, 16-2 or 16-4 deficit. Sweden was it 16-2? All right. And we ended up losing by 2. And we had to fight back. And then you got to play after a game break, Pack, who's pressing you with Zion. And they just ran us out of the gym in the first, 3 minutes. So I'd like to be able to play them when we're at our best a little bit. And then against East, I have the utmost respect for their defensive fundamentals. Reminds me of a lot of Tony Dunlop with the Zumdall boys coming from there. You can see the similarities and how sound they are. So you have to be really sound offensively and what you do to go against them. And they probably have the 2 best bigs probably in this side of the state. So what we learned from that is that we fought back. So we have fight on this team. And, to be able to close that out, show that, hey, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's why I find I was at both those games against Pecatonica and Eastland. And, speaking about Eastland, those 2 bigs, obviously with Zai and Parker, I mean, that is a challenge for anybody to go up against. And like you said, they do a great job of collapsing in their zone defense, picking up the additional help to seal somebody off, and they make it very hard to penetrate to get to the basket as well.
Yeah, you got to space them. You got to get them out of the camping in the lane, and you got to space them out.
Yep.
So, Ethan, question for you. Before last night, your guys' last loss was to Sherrard. After that, you went on an 8-0 run in the next 8 games. What was said or not said, or what did you feel changed after that game?
There was definitely a lot said in the locker room. What was said, I'm going to keep it in there. But I think as a collective group, we realized
There
we
was
had a
some
lot of
mouth
mental
slapping,
lapses.
probably.
Yeah. We had a lot of mental lapses in that game. And I think as a group, we just realized that if we want to win basketball games, those can happen. And I think from then on, we fixed those. We've limited those. And that's why we got the 8-game win streak.
Yeah, that game was an intriguing game. I tuned in on that one on NFHS because I wanted to see how you guys would handle a team like Sherrard. And yeah, needless to say, I left that game a little disappointed. I thought you guys had a better team than what you had displayed that night, but obviously you definitely turned the
I thought
page.
the same, Kyle.
You guys definitely turned the page though, going into the new year, jumping out to this 8-1 run so far. So whatever was said in the locker room, Ethan, you guys probably definitely hit the right notes there.
Yeah.
Brady, how do losses like those sharpen a team instead of breaking it?
It just makes us come back stronger and work harder for the next. We want the next win, and we don't want to have that feeling again. And just come back and work harder, grind.
And Zander, to you, what do you feel was the most significant thing that has flipped starting the new year?
I really just think our mindset, like the whole team really bound in together and just decided like if we want to do something, like all our eyes were on conference. Like this year we know we needed to be locked in, and the games at the start of the year, even though with losses, we kind of realized no, even though we lost, those prepared us for these later games upcoming, and with us kind of being viewed as preseason underdogs in our conference, like that kind of gave us an extra chip towards that mindset. Like we got to be locked in.
So, Coach, what adjustments, either mentally or schematically, have you changed to help fuel this 8-1 run since the turn of the new year?
Well, Kyle, if you're asking me schematically, and to be on camera, you're crazy if I'm going to tell you.
Okay, fair
That's
enough.
number one. I will say this though: we made one or two simple changes that I really felt I was a pretty dumb coach that I didn't do it earlier, which helped our offense probably 8 to 10 points in a game. I'll just say that. So we made some simple things, and it worked for us. So that's good. Mentally though, I'm going to preach to you here a little bit. So brother Jay and brother Kyle, let's take them to church here a little bit. So I'm going to talk about the warrior mentality, and I see if I can describe this for you. When you take everything away from the warrior, what happens? He just doesn't quit. He doesn't surrender. He keeps coming back. And you don't have to go looking for him, because when you open your front door, he's waiting right on your front doorstep, waiting. And you might ask, does this warrior think he's invincible or immortal? No, he just refuses to die. And that is kind of the warrior mentality that we've kind of accepted over the years here. I think that's number one. But number two, and it might be even bigger. I don't know why I'm putting this at number two, but what is your why? And when you're going through a hard grind and adversity in life, what gets you out of bed? What makes you go to the court to run a little harder, work a little harder? It's got to be bigger than yourself. And all right. And, we've approached players with this during the season, and I won't point out anybody specifically, but we've asked the guy once that I pulled him aside. I said, listen, you've got how many rebounds do you have? And he goes, Coach, I don't know. And I said, well, that's a problem. I said, 1.8. I said, we thought you were going to be our first or second leading rebounder on the team. And he just looked at me and I said, hey, what's your why? And he really looked at me with a blank stare. He goes, Coach, what do you mean? I said, you got to have your why. You're like, what makes you go? What makes you tick? What makes you do it for somebody else than yourself? And he goes, I don't have one. I said, okay, well, come back tomorrow. You don't have to tell me what your why is, but make sure you have one. And when he came back next day, I go, you got one? He goes, Coach, I got one. He was kind of excited. And then at this time, now he's tripled his rebounds. So sometimes you just have to have a why. And some people that might say, well, I'm a crazy guy. All right. You could say crazy or driven. Those guys are next door neighbors and sharing each other's sugar. All right. So, but if you think I'm more crazy, it's probably because I got a bigger why than you do. And I'm going to share, I don't know if was going to go there, but I'm going to share it with you, what my why is. So on a Sunday morning at about 10:30, my wife was on the phone, and I remember seeing her face, and it kind of tears in her eyes. She lost her color, and her hands were shaking, her voice was shaky. And she got off the phone. She goes, we got to go. I said, what's the matter? She goes, Ty, our middle son, had a motor vehicle accident. And what happened on that day is that he was deer hunting with the in-laws, which they do once a year, every year. And he was cutting through from Guttenberg to Monticello to Iowa City to see his girlfriend. And then Monticello is where she's from, so he knows the roads. And as a dad, you're thinking, oh, he's driving too fast. Probably took a shortcut on a country road, something probably like that. Well, we saw the accident where it was 75 yards away from a stop sign coming right out of Monticello. And there was this crazy ravine sitting there. I've never seen a ravine like this sitting in town. And while he was driving through, and he said he wasn't going fast, what I was told. And he's got a nice brand new diesel truck, better truck than his pops does. And he said, I saw trees and I didn't want to hit the trees with my truck. So I tried to swerve and I overcorrected. And by doing that, I hit something and it turned it up over, and it went up over end, and he landed on the cab in this ravine. Well, you can't see a vehicle in this ravine at all, even if you're walking by. You really got to look over. And where he landed, there was a creek in it. And where he landed specifically, there was 3 to 4 feet of water sitting in there. And this was a pretty cold morning. And so when he landed over top, this is what he this is what he told me is my airbags went off, and I tried to hit my driver's door. Couldn't get it. It's wedged. Couldn't get it. Kicked really hard. Then he goes, I went to the passenger side. Couldn't get it. I couldn't bust out a window. Just couldn't. I didn't have the angle with the airbags. And so I kicked and I kicked and I kicked. And I kicked and I kicked and I kicked. And he goes, then I thought to myself, this is it. This is where I end, And then he thought, I'm either going to drown here as the water's coming through the cab, or I'm going to give this sucker one more kick. And he gave it one more kick, and he got out. Thank God.
Yeah.
You got to have faith, right? And I'm a pretty faithful guy, but my faith is on another level, for sure. And he had hypothermia pretty bad, and then bruised. He's like, "Why is my leg sore?" I'm like, "You know what superhuman strength is? You just experienced it." So when I talk to my fellows, or just myself in general, when I'm late at night and I've already watched enough tape and I've done enough planning, or I'm feeling sorry for myself or frustrated or this or that, or I'm just telling myself one more kick. And then when I talk to these guys in the locker room and they're feeling sorry for themselves and they're frustrated and things aren't going right, well, guess what I'm telling them? We got one more kick. So to be honest with you, our warrior mentality, and I think that we have a really big why. People kind of wonder, there's no magic in this thing. It's just that, what's your why? And I think we got a pretty big one.
That's a great story.
Yeah, great story. And I've heard that the why a lot of times, and I think a lot of us use it because it's like if you're not doing it for a purpose or you're not doing it, then why do it, right? Like you got to show up.
Absolutely.
You got to show up every day and work to why you're doing it. And like I said, that's why before the next question, I love watching you guys play.
Yeah. Well, you
after
guys probably did that this morning. You're like on your podcast. We got to talk to East Dubuque. I hope I have a big why, Kyle. Yes, I do, Jay.
Yeah, yeah. And my why was I looked over and we were at this is our why, coach, and this is a true story. Two quick stories here. You probably don't remember this, but it brought back why we had to have you on. Back in your high school days of Galena.
Oh boy.
You were a senior, I was a freshman, and had two experiences with you. One of my first varsity games was at Galena, and I threw a ball to one of our guards, and you jumped out of nowhere and grabbed it, took it the other way, and my head coach McCabe looked at me and goes, "You threw it right to him." I'm like, "Well, I don't know, he jumped really high," and it was Coach Schaber was the one.
You sure that was me?
It was you. And then I wonder if you remember this one. A tackle reverse eligible play.
Oh my God! Don't get me started. I'm having flashbacks right now, Jay.
I was going to
That was
hope
an illegal play, Jay.
I know it's illegal, but
we lost
won
that
the
last
game.
coach. We lost that last game for Coach Cordy. I've not let that one down. I tell him every day when I see him, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had a chance to make that tackle, but that lineman came out of nowhere. Illegal. I think he didn't even do a full circle. I don't even know what the heck was a Fumbarooski play.
It was the funny part was I was just telling my wife last night, because here's how it comes full circle. My wife's brother is the tackle who scored the touchdown. I think he still relives that play today, probably every time.
Does he have the game ball?
What's that?
Does he have the game ball?
I don't know about that one.
I doubt Chad has the game.
Chad does not have the game ball, guaranteed.
He should. He should.
But the joke was after it was an illegal play. The refs didn't call it, and that won the game, and we got into the playoffs over it. And I wondered if you remembered. Clearly, you remember that play back in the day.
Absolutely, I remember that. And I remember that being tackled in the. I remember being tackled in the pile and being hit 2 to 3 extra times when I was down. And I think I had about over 100 yards at half, and I think I might have been peeing out blood at one time, and I would try to go back in. I couldn't even run, and I tried to make that tackle at the end. I'm like, that dude's way too big, so I made a career decision there.
You found out your why on that play.
I found out my why. Thank you, Jesus.
I had to ask you. I was going to ask that later, but I was curious. Those were my and then the last one was we were at the Eastland shootout, and you had your white jumpsuit on, and you remind me of these street toughs I had back when I went to Ireland with my wife. And I go, we have to get Coach Schaber on, Kyle. We got to get him on.
I should have worn my gold chain. No, I'm just kidding.
That would have been more dynamic.
Yeah, I might have fired myself.
Which one are we on?
Right here.
Ethan, back to you. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So you walk off the court last game, end of last year. You have the summer to work, get better. Where do you feel from the last game last year when you walked off the court to today? Where have you grown the most?
In the off season, we have a full season. We play 30 games. Um, I mean, I'm in the gym a lot with Coach Sweeney. He's always got me on the gun doing stuff, and I just think having that full season before the season, I grew everywhere. Defensively, offensively, I think I can't really pinpoint a spot where I grew, but I think just everywhere, I got better, and the off season just made a big difference through that.
So Brady, back to you. What part of your game has had to evolve for this team to succeed? Obviously, Coach Schaber is talking about you need to be the guy down low getting the boards. What else do you feel had to evolve for your success for the team?
Mostly just trusting my brothers and get them good screens and so they can get open for a good shot and help them have a great game.
What kind of player would tell you that about great screens, right?
He's the first, to be honest, which is
Right.
great because that's exactly what a team player is all about.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to find, and being a basketball coach myself, that's the hardest thing you find, because I think we live in a time where everyone, I've been blessed with great role players and things like that the last couple of years, but the toughest thing to find is everybody is based on, you only want to hear your name because of scoring points or something like that, but you do not win games without the glue of the teams that grab rebounds, talk on defense, set picks, and do all the little things to make it easier for the other players that have been blessed with scoring, right? And I have talked about that. We were blessed with a great score in last year with Lainey Cahoon, right? But she don't get her
Right.
points in that without, we had a Kaylin O'Haver who was like a 5 point but 10 rebound girl, right? Like, we win because of those players. And like on your team, you guys have guys who find their role every night, find what they do well, uh, bring their like you said, they're wide to the game every game, and that's how you win, and that's how you win games you maybe shouldn't win, and that's how you stay consistent year in and year out. And that's the thing now for you, Xander. How do you prepare yourself game in and game out, and what is something that you tell yourself each game, I'm bringing to the team?
Basically, you just kind of have to have the good mindset that you have to believe in your own capabilities, whether that's if you're a scorer, you'll be like, all right, I know I can score. I got to believe myself. Or, hey, I'm going to play the best defense I can. I'm holding
Yep.
this guy to under 5 points, stuff like that. And also, you got to really earlier, like in the practices, like you got to practice like it's a game, so then the games can be practiced, which that just allows for a really good flow of everything. And I'd say the thing that I really like am the most consistent in or try to be is just my defense aspect and more of like rebounding ability. Like I know I'm not always gonna be scorer. We got plenty of scores. Like I'm proud of them for everything that they do, but I got to find the way to just kind of lock down a good player or get boards to help my team win.
So, Coach, you played Byron here a while back ago. You lost to him, and then 2 games later, you came back. You beat him at overtime, and obviously Byron's looking for a top 2 seed in their subsection. What did that tell you about this team's ceiling?
That there isn't one. If I were to put a ceiling on any team, Jay and Kyle, I would fire myself as the coach. I'd be done. There is no ceiling in any year I enter. I mean, listen, if you're in the coaching world, your goal is to win your last game.
Yep.
And if you're anything different than that, if you're just basing your season on what your talent is, then why are you coaching? You're cheating the kids that you have. So we're always talking about getting to the next game. So I think that's probably the most important thing. And Byron specifically, I have utmost respect for their program and the guys and the dudes that they have different animals in their zoo. Um, but to be able to, I mean, this shows a lot about this team that you go and get your butts kicked at Sherrard. I think we gave up 17 3-pointers. I don't know if we've done that in a 15 game span. And they were just lighting it up. And then I think it was what, guys, 4 or 5 days later, we played them again. And 4 to 5, we're not talking a month later, when we had some prep, but then we beat them in double overtime at our house. So it just shows you the character of the team, and that the kind of quality kids that I have to be able to make that quick turnaround.
Ethan, what did and what it's like, you guys have had some tough games, but what is it like playing top regional seeds and coming out victorious due to your guys' conference or confidence?
Uh, um, uh, just playing good teams like that kind of shows us where we're at as a team. Coming into this, the guys in the circle knew we were going to be good, but I think playing those top seeds showed us like what we have to do to make a tough run in the postseason.
Yeah, it's a measuring stick.
Yep.
So, Brady, how do you keep your belief high when outside noise creeps in, or do you just block that outside noise out?
I just keep in between the four lines, and I just focus on what we have to do inside the four lines and keep it as best as possible. And don't worry about the stuff.
That's what you got to do right there.
And then Zander, for you guys as a team, each team is different. Each team is built different, and each team is a lot of times coached different. But what have you learned about this team that compares to other teams you've been on?
Well, I mean, for starters, this is really the first year like all of us have actually like played together. So it really allowed us to bond over everything with all the practices and the games. And there's really no bad blood. And we've all been friends for the longest time. And now that we have this chance to play with each other, it just really shows the brotherhood and the friendship that we have.
That's the best part, going out there and playing with your brothers. Coach, gunning for a third straight conference title. And obviously there was a lot of conference titles under Coach Miller before you. What would that mean for you and for the program right now?
To be honest with you, Kyle, that's a hypothetical question a little bit. That's in the future. And I really don't answer questions that relate to like what's the future may hold. Same thing in the past. We don't get caught up in what the results that what we did yesterday. So when you talk about expectations that we control in a timely fashion that deals with the present, we have four that we talk about quite often. And number one, and I think these are in order. Number one is to be family oriented, and that's our brotherhood. And you might ask me, can you define what a brotherhood is to you? I can't. It's not words. It's like when you walk into a room, and you guys are coaches, you understand this. When you walk in a room and you can go look to each one of the guys' eyes, I always look into my guys' eyes as I go in the locker room. But when you see that there's a harmony and a peace amongst the team when you come in, and there's one team committed and one purpose that we're committed on, um, it's the best feeling in the world as a coach. I think it's better than pulling up a plaque or a banner number is when you get there. If you can get there, that's the thing. And then number two is, are we, extremely competitive? So every day in practice, like this is how we practice. We practice chaos to create game calmness. So we chart everything, we number everything. Every drill's got a number to beat time wise or score wise. And these guys know the standard. It's got to be pushed to the next level. And they've broken 3 or 4 already program records in practice. So they've seen themselves do it through that, and that builds your competitive spirit. And they usually have to run the difference if they don't get it. So there's a little, motivation there as well. And then the third thing is being well prepared. That's what we do as coaches. But for their prep, their training, their off season, their weight training, it goes for recovery, nutrition, their sleep, stay off your cell phones, understand your roles. That prep is all really important. And we try to get the guys really nervous a night or two before the game so that when we go through our prep, that they kind of know everything they need to know. And when they put on that uniform, they're pretty confident going out and the nerves leave, and we're driven by faith, not driven by fear. And then the fourth thing I would say is to execute at a high level. And that's pretty self-explanatory. So we don't stress anything of like just win, got to win. If we feel like we do those four things, we'll be successful, or at least put ourselves in a position to be successful. And when you talk about expectations, see, I think of future when you say expectations. And so I would never probably tell my guys, I expect us to be conference champs. I expect us to be a regional champ because that's in the future. That takes my guys' mindset away. They're worried about results and they're worried about the future. And I don't want that. I want them to be 10 toes right now where they're at, present every time. This is why we treat everybody the same. Like if you're 2-18 and 18-2, we prep you the same way. And I want them to be in the present time. And there's if you want a great read Inner Excellent by James Murphy. They talk about the military. I study the military a lot. but they talk about samurai code, and a samurai code is basically that's about life and death. When these guys are training, they don't really have a life. They're just they're fighters, and they talk about they don't worry about expectations because that's the future. They've got to stay in the present. And here's a great story for you. My high school classmate became the sports information director at Syracuse. So you remember John Boeheim, right? The legendary coach.
Yep.
So he's giving a press conference, and a reporter had asked him, what's your expectations? And he goes, well, we don't need no beeping expect. I mean, he had colorful language, expectations. Well, it is at the end of the season. If we don't meet them, we're all disappointed. So why would I have them? And I thought when he told me that story, I'm like, what? That's a Division I coach saying that. What an asinine thing to say. But that was when I was in my front nine of my career. I'm in the back nine. And I think what he said is absolutely correct. But I wouldn't have said it that way, but it's absolutely correct. He's basically saying, I'm not worried about the future. I'm worried about my guys right now in the present. And that's one reason. I mean, coaches that do that's fine. That's your prerogative. But here it's like we don't talk about we got to be conference champs or regional champs. We expect to be that because that takes you way out of what you're doing. We're a process-driven program, not a result-driven program.
Amen. And that goes to next question for you, Brady. Just in general, you came in as a freshman. There were expectations, and maybe you got some advice. Now, as a senior, what would be your advice for future Warriors and the underclassmen?
Don't take it for granted. You get a chance and take it as far as possible. You only get one opportunity to do this, and don't just grind it. Don't mess it up.
So, Ethan, when it's all said and done, what do you want to be most proud of with your East Dubuque career?
I would say the effort I gave. I think every night when I'm on that court, I want to give 100% effort. I don't want to have someone remember me thinking that I was just not giving 100% effort on that court.
And same question to you, Zander.
I mean, just hard work and dedication. It's really, you want people to, like Ethan said, you really want people to, you don't want to be viewed as just a lazy kid in the court or not as good, stuff like that.
So, Coach, we probably won't talk to you again until later on in the season, but I just want to make sure that, we get to ask this question.
Sure.
What will this senior class to you and to East Dubuque be remembered for?
Probably first and foremost, selfless. I think it's the most important trait. You have to be selfless. That's when your team really starts playing well. And if a kid's worried about their stats or worried about a college coach coming and watching them to play, you've got to teach them to be selfless. And then usually you're blessed 10 times more once that's achieved. To be first, you got to put yourself second, right? I think another thing that goes with that is I grew up on a farm, so have a farmer's mentality. There's always something to do. Wake up early in the morning, get your chores done, even though you don't want to do your chores. And then you realize that this is your livelihood. You have no choice. So this is the situation you're in. So, and these guys have a farmer's mentality for sure. The other thing is we tell them to be dogs on defense. So, and not just to be any dog, but to be a junkyard dog versus a show dog. And the junkyard dog, it's a little bit more hungrier, fights a little bit harder. And so that's the kind of mentality we try to teach them that hopefully carries out. And then the last thing I would say is to remember be worth the price of admission. People pay to watch us play. That's crazy, right? People pay to watch us play. And it's our job to put on some entertainment for them. We're in the entertainment industry, in the business. Our job is to serve. And I think about the fans often. I think about the fan that, that's struggling with their health, that's struggling with their marriage, that's struggling with their job, struggling with their kids. And they're coming to a game because they just want to get away for 2-3 hours. And our job is to give them a performance that worthy of admission that they can think, not even think about any of that and try to inspire them. And I think that these group of guys have done that. Like the way they play, I would hope to somebody say that, hey, that's inspiring by their effort. I don't think about maybe the result, but by the effort they put forth, they are worth the price of admission. And we talk about that quite a bit. So I would think that's what we would hopefully be remembered for.
Well, I have to say, like I said, I've watched you guys a couple different times in person, on video, and I think you're living up to that expectation
Same here.
because you're
Yep.
you're definitely getting people to want to watch East Dubuque basketball.
Appreciate that.
Hey, I just want to say we appreciate you guys for taking the time out on an early Sunday morning to join us today. Obviously, your story reflects what a lot of stories around our great conference do. Toughness, accountability. Obviously, you got some multi-sport athletes there, but you guys have a program that's been built the same way. And coach, you've shared a lot of great insight today that both myself and Jay have taken notes on as well, because of what you have presented and how you handle things in a different perspective. And that's awesome as a coach, from a coach. It's always great to get different viewpoints on how to handle different situations. And you guys are doing a great thing there at East Dubuque. We want to wish you guys the best of luck the remainder of the season. Obviously, we're going to continue to watch. We got sectional seedings coming out here in 2 weeks, so that'll be very interesting to see where you guys land. But most of all, keep doing what you guys are doing. You guys have definitely turned it up. You found your way, and that way is providing you the ability to continue to stack wins here as we get closer to that seeding moment in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I would echo the same thing back to you guys, the gratitude that we have that you're giving us the spotlight to market and brand our team. And some of us forget that, East Dubuque is in that northwest tip part of Illinois. And so you guys do a great job. I've kind of watched you guys more and more over the years. I watch a lot of your football stuff because I like listening to football coaches and stuff like that. And what you guys do and highlight the athletes in the area. I'm a NUIC guy, right? So Orangeville, Jay was talking about the stories. Like, grew up in the UNIC, coach in the UNIC. I left the UNIC, and I thought, damn it, I miss the NUIC. I miss Illinois basketball. It's not quite the same. And really, to be honest with you, small town basketball is just the life. And so it's like coming back here and you guys to be able to highlight some of this stuff for us. We really appreciate it. And the platform you do it on, you guys are doing a great job.
Well, we thank you very much for that. And yeah, I mean, I'm an NUIC alum as well. I'm from Dakota. It's great. There's no better place to be than in this conference. It's definitely, to me, the best conference in the state of Illinois across many sports. And it's great to be able to shine that spotlight, as you said, on all the different teams, the different athletes that we have in the area because of the amount of success that our teams have across multiple sports, but the athletes themselves that put on the performance and give us the entertainment value that we all want to see and harness to grab that inspiration, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. Myself and Jay are going to be back right after this.
All right.
When the job matters, your equipment can't fail. That's where J&R Rentals delivers. Serving Tri-States area from East Dubuque, J&R Rentals is your local source for dependable equipment. From lifts, trailers, pumps, and job site essentials built to work as hard as you do. Homeowners, contractors, big projects or small jobs, expect the same standard every time. Pickup or delivery is available. Equipment sales, service and repairs, propane refills, reliable equipment from people who know the job. Call J&R Rentals today at 815-747-7707 and get to work. Jay, we just got done with a great conversation with Coach Schaber from East Dubuque, along with Ethan Schulting, Brady Dietzel, and Zander Tierney. And to be quite honest, I mean, at the very beginning, Coach Schaber said he was going to take us to church. And I feel like I got a good lesson there.
Yes, I feel cleansed after that, if you know what I mean, Kyle. No, on a seriousness, that's why I think I like watching Coach Schaber teams. I like the way they play. I like the way he coaches them hard. I like the way how they play hard. When like their players even said it, like practice is hard. Everything is hard, and when you get to a game, it becomes easier because that level of expectation doesn't leave. And I've said it to you. Like I said, when we wanted to get him on and we were at the Eastland, we wanted to hear his story. We wanted to hear his why of why he does it and why he coaches the way and his expectations. And after listening to that, even a bigger fan of East Dubuque boys basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like how he talked about, they don't put expectations down. And I'm sure he puts goals down. We didn't really delve into that too deep. But he doesn't list all the expectations because of the disappointment that can bring if you don't live up to those expectations. So I found that to be very good because to a point, you do want to have expectations, but more importantly, you want to have goals. And he's very process oriented rather than result oriented. And I think that's where he finds a lot of his success.
Yeah, I think the goals is like any coach, like we would say to our teams, your goals is to, like he said, win the last game of the year. And if you fall short of that, you'll have disappointment. But your main goal is to play and coach every game like it means something. And win or lose, you can walk away feeling like you gave everything you had. You don't want to walk away from a game or a season feeling there was more left or more on the table. And, if that works your way to play for a conference title, so be it. If it allows you to play for a regional title, so be it. But like you said, coaching the same way, if you're 2-18 or 18-2, the expectations are the same and you don't differ what your end goal is. And got that from him and the players. And you can see that they're peaking at the perfect time from the new year to now. And they're doing the things that need to be done. And they're going to be an exciting watch for the next 3-4 weeks.
Yes, and like we said, I mean, we've seen them live a couple different times, and at the same time, we've also have both watched them on NFHS, and they're very fun to watch. They are a fun team to watch.
Yeah, they're one of the teams that I know myself, you and Joe will text back and forth here and there when games are on. They're one of the teams it's like, yeah, I tuned in to watch East Dubuque to what they're doing. They're one of the teams that you just like watching play because of the way they play.
Yep.
And like I said, from Coach Miller before him to now, different style of like for me for watching it, but same thing of enjoy just watching the game of basketball being played the way they coach it.
Yeah. Lots of fun. We got some other big things going around the area. Obviously, this upcoming week, girls basketball seedings come out February 5th. So we'll have that posted here. We'll have one more round of projections coming out sometime today yet. But we'll have the actual seedings coming out this week. Next week is the boys' side. Talk about real quick. We've seen a lot of upside here. The Winter Olympics are getting ready to start.
How about that?
And we have Orangeville alum Tessa Janicki on Team USA. They start play this upcoming week as well. Their first game is against Czechia, and I believe that was February 5th, which opening ceremony is actually February 6th. So their first game in the tournament is before the opening ceremonies.
Yeah, which,
different.
Different, but let's talk in general about what we've talked about, the NUIC, what it has and what it offers. You have a USA Olympian playing this week in Tessa Janicki for the hockey team, which if you don't, you should tune into those games and watch what they bring to the table and what she is as a player.
Oh, so fun.
If you haven't. The other mark that's all over social media for the NUIC is Dunker from Iowa is everywhere over and his stock is climbing. So you have two alums on both sides, male and female, that are doing great things for their hometowns and the NUIC.
Yeah, it's crazy because
I don't remember seeing ever.
The initial conversation coming from the end of the season was Jennings Dunker being a second to third round pick. Now through the Senior Bowl, which just concluded last night or yesterday afternoon with their Senior Bowl game, but he's had a full week of Senior Bowl activities. His draft stock had, like you said, it's definitely come up to the point where people are now talking about a potential first round draft pick, which changes a whole dynamic of things. And I was fortunate enough, I was able to talk to Jennings here on Friday ahead of the games and after some of the stuff that he's had going on. And, when he says that he's willing to go to any team, he means it. Like, he honestly just wants to play ball. He doesn't care what team picks him. He's just very happy with the excitement and the opportunity to play ball in the NFL and wants to keep going on with that.
Yeah, and I think as a outsider, you hear where he's going to pick and you see stuff fall. And, for me as a person, I'm not, that what it entails doesn't bother me, because once you get drafted, it doesn't matter where you get drafted. But the key is going to be, we feel, and he's going to be one of the first ones ever drafted.
Yes.
And that's going to be, whether it's day 1 or day 2 or day 3, wherever he ends up going, they're going to get a quality guy in the locker room, but he's going to hear his name called. I think we can all agree on that with wherever, he has to fit a system and a coach and all that. But the great thing to hear is that his stock is soaring. Now, what that means is whether he's a first to fourth rounder, that nobody knows until draft day. But very cool to listen to, very cool to watch all the articles coming out. Very cool to listen to and watch the stuff coming out with Tessa and the Olympic team. Going to be an exciting couple weeks for Tessa at the Olympics, and then it will transform to Jennings Dunker at the NFL draft in April.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. I think that April NFL draft might be the most watched NFL draft for our immediate area.
Maybe we can get our credentials used, Kyle, and make it to the draft.
Yes.
Can we get backstage at the draft?
I'll see
with our credentials. Yeah, you got to put
I'll
that
see if
email
we
in.
can do something. I don't know.
I don't know how we got to see how far we can go. So,
all right, taking a look at the other side that we want to follow up on to finish off the show this week. Wrestling has completed the regionals, and through individual regionals, we've had 2 teams that have won their regionals and will move into team sectionals next week. That are the Morrison Mustangs and Lena Winslow Stockton, both winning regionals. Morrison, this is their first ever team regional title, so congratulations to Morrison on that. Obviously, Lena Winslow Stockton, the number 2 ranked team in the state behind Coal City, who they actually have gone head-to-head with down at Abe's Rumble in Springfield earlier this year. They lost that one to Coal City, but a great opportunity here to continue to move on in that path and potentially meet back up with Coal City at state. With that, for Morrison, their champions that helped lead them to a regional title were Kel Wright at 120 pounds, Eli Modulin at 126, Patrick Schaefer at 138, Caleb Modulin at 150, and Noah Stout at 190 pounds. And when you take a look at the Lena Winslow Stockton side, they have clearly put up quite a few champions. They had 6 individual champions, with Carson Hill at 113 pounds, Brandon White at 126, Harrison Bauer at 144, defending state champ Eli Larson at 190, Oliver McPeak at 215, and last year's runner-up Jeremiah Luke at 285. They also move on 4 other guys that received second place finishes in Keller Otto at 120, Mauricio Glass at 138, Sam Sikora at 157, and Jack Mensendike at 175 pounds. Fulton also moves some guys on as well. Mason Keeble was a runner-up at 175 pounds. He is now a 3-time sectional qualifier. Third place went to Colton Hartman, and Hudson Price also finished in third place. Those 2 guys will move on. Colton Hartman, 106 pounds. Hudson Price, 113 pounds, both making their first time qualifying for sectionals. So that gives you a look around the state of wrestling and what we have going on there. Very good stuff there as we continue to move forward. Right now, the plan is to be at individual state for myself on February 21st. So we'll be there for the last day of the events, which will get us the third place matches, the championship matches, and anything in the morning sessions as well. So it'll be my first time at the State Farm Center for wrestling since I think I was in high school. But Definitely looking at getting some expanded coverage there. Definitely looking at potentially going back to the Byron sectional as well here in a couple weeks. I was there last year, so my initial plan is to be there again this year for that as well. So a lot of things coming up, Jay, but a lot of good things going on around the NUIC.
Yeah, no, 100%. In the next 3-4 weeks is going to get really busy in the NUIC with finishing up of girls basketball, boys basketball, and then regionals for boys and girls, and end of wrestling. February is a very busy month. Hopefully we can continue to see NUIC teams dominate like they have, and then before you know it, we'll find out, and it'll be turned baseball, softball season. So that'll be the exciting time for that, and we'll turn the page on another basketball season and wrestling season in 2025-26. So yeah, appreciate all the hard work that these student athletes have done, the time the coaches have put in. I think sometimes that gets unnoticed. Basketball, wrestling, and these sports in the fall or go into winter, and it's a really long season. And it's cool to see the teams and everybody do well, and it's great to see the graduates of the NUIC, two particular, to make sure we keep an eye on in Jennings Dunker and Tessa Janicki, what they're going to bring to the table the next month.
Yep. So there's a look from the past week and what's just happened over the weekend. Obviously, a lot of things to look forward to coming up. We have a great show lined up for next week as well with Hannah Thiele, the head coach of East Dubuque, and a couple girls from her program. So stay tuned for that show. But in the meantime, get out to those games, root for your teams. As always, root for the NUIC. We'll see you next week.